Becky Pope, and I climbed because of ovarian cancer.
When they said this is the toughest thing you'll ever do in your life, they were right.
We climbed for 4.5 days and came down a day and a half.
The site was quiet, it was beautiful, the skies were blue, and it was you see the glaciers.
The most beautiful moment for me was the group. We got along so well, and we bonded so tightly.
7 women, 6 days, 1 mountain. What does that mean? Good morning, and thank you for joining us for a special edition of Fox 26 Morning News Extra. I'm Melissa Wilson. It means 7 courageous women from Houston, along with their trainers, doctors, and mentors, set out a few weeks ago to climb Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa. It's a hiking mountain, but don't let that fool you. This is no easy feat. Kilimanjaro is the tallest freestanding mountain in the world and the tallest in Africa at 19,340 feet. It supports 5 major ecozones: rainforest, heather, moorland, alpine desert, and glaciers. About 15,000 people attempt to climb Kilimanjaro every year. Each of the 7 women we're talking about today has a special story to share, a serious reason, an important cause for which they're climbing. Their main cause was to raise awareness and funds for ovarian cancer. You see, one of the climbers has survived the disease twice and recently underwent surgery for it yet again. The others face their own health challenges like HIV, obesity, and drug addiction. Here's a look at their experience on the mountain.
All is good. It's all good. Hey.
A total of 17 climbed for 7 major issues in life.
Hey, get ready to go.
It all started with Becky Pope, who has ovarian cancer and is recovering from recent surgery.
Did that help make you work even harder, knowing what you were coming back to?
I wanted to be in the best shape I could be for the surgery. I'm opened up from below the belly button to about right here. And if I'm sounding breathy, it's because part of where they had to go into my liver, it sits right about my diaphragm, so catching my breath is a little difficult still.
Day 2, we're definitely climbing a little more than yesterday, right ladies?
Yes.
When the other women decided to join Becky, they realized the power they had of raising awareness about tough things to talk about, like HIV.
I've climbed a big mountain to get to this point. The Kilimanjaro is just a physical idea of the struggle that I've went through to get here, me and my family. So it's a big deal to be on top of the mountain.
We are reaching the end of our 2nd day, and we finally see the mama.
But 10,000 feet is not going to beat us.
They climbed for everything from obesity to abuse. They can now teach us all a thing or two about human bonding, friendship, and survival.
Ain't no stopping us now. I've been walking after midnight out on the moonlight, just hoping you. I've been walking after midnight, searching for the summit. Oh, I was searching for me.
This is one of the banners they took up on that mountain. While it's fun to giggle about now, life on the mountain was no laughing matter.
Let's go, girls.
It was more than physical. They said you're going to have to dig deep, and that's exactly, I think we all had to dig pretty darn deep to get up there.
And a few steps, stop, breathe. Few steps, stop, breathe.
You're walking through 15 inches of scree, and you take a step and you slide 2 back, and you're planting your poles, and it's a major challenge.
This is our guide, Edwin, in front of me. And as you can see by his steps, we are trying to help us conserve our energy.
I had a very difficult time breathing.
I've never walked so slow in my life, which was half step, breathe, gasp, and then just stab your poles in the ground and just take another 2 steps and half step, and breathe. You realize that oxygen is very precious.
Precious enough that several climbers didn't have enough of it and had to turn back.
I watched my friends fall around me. Not all of them, but a couple. I remember crying, and I set my jaw, and I just dug deep, and I was like, keep going, just keep going. I had a few girls with me, and every few steps we would stop and we would lean down on our poles and rest and then 4 more steps, and we were down again. How's everybody doing?
Shanna Ross has been the group's fitness leader the past 6 months, preparing them for their huge goal. They thought they were prepared after trekking up and down Buffalo Bayou and going through weight training and CrossFit training. But nothing could prepare them for the altitude. Altitude sickness begins with a headache, then progresses to vomiting, which most were suffering from.
And the third stage is something called ataxia, which basically you start losing control of your body. You can't stand up, you're losing your balance, and you're wanting to go to sleep all the time. And about an hour, I guess, into the climb, into the summit push, that hit me. So I was falling, not really making a lot of sense. And I don't remember it. I mean, it honestly is like I climbed in a blackout, and I think it is just that mind over matter thing kicks in, and you know what your goal is, and somehow you just keep walking.
I think we're past that 5-minute mark.
I think so.
Almost.
That's what I get for filming.
Thanks for you saved the camera, though. Good girl.
Shanna was so sick, she doesn't even remember the last 8 hours of the climb and has no recollection of making this video.
It was a hard climb yesterday. We're all doing fairly well.
It's practically live, yeah.
Pat Wente had originally planned to climb, but decided against it with her doctor's urging. She was closely monitoring her climbing comrades through phone calls, text messages, and Facebook.
I was exhausted. It was brutal to actually read their posts. And then for about 14, 18 hours, did not get any posts. And I thought, well, they're dead.
Someone from another group did die on the mountain that day, but not one of Pat's dear friends. Finally, she got a text saying they were exhausted, but okay.
It was really nerve-wracking, exciting. I was much more engaged in it and worried about it than I thought I would be. I thought, well, I'm kind of out of the loop. I'm not part of the team anymore. But it was vicarious fun and terror.
Meanwhile, the group was concerned about their friend and cancer patient Becky.
I had huge concerns for her. And the fact that she made it to the summit and even went past Gilman's Point, I mean, she passed me up, is everything. Absolutely everything to me.
Becky was lucky to have her surgeon by her side through the first 3 days of the climb before they got separated.
Dr. Terry Postelnick that was on the show earlier did reach the highest point, and as she came down, she screamed at me, literally, "You're the only patient I've ever vomited for." So,
Porters made Becky turn around before she wanted to because they ran out of their allotted time. Others stopped long before her from severe symptoms of altitude sickness.
Deb kept saying, "Do you see that black thing?" And I thought she was seeing shadows of the headlamp, and I'd go, "No." She'd go, "Are you sure you didn't see that black thing?" And I'd say, "No." And we'd continue along. "You sure you didn't see that black thing?" "No." What I found out later was that Deb was suffering with hallucinations and thought there were black panthers following us along the trail. I'm very glad I did not know that, because I don't know if I would have trusted my sense of reality or whether her sense of reality was the right one.
Everyone got a laugh out of it later, even Deb. In her defense, though, she was the only one who ended up with drinking water.
Because she actually had a pretty good wrapping system around her tube, so it did not freeze. And
leave it to the FBI agent to find a way to keep her pack and her water from freezing.
Right.
While it may all sound trying and beyond difficult, the ladies are all glad they strapped on those hiking boots. Most of them reached their initial goal of the first summit.
The most beautiful moment for me was the group. We got along so well, and we bonded so tightly during this experience. We were always there for each other. It didn't matter who was struggling. If there was somebody that was slowing down, there was always a group of people that would stay with that person until summit night, when the porters wouldn't allow us to do that.
We've got some baggy jeans over here.
We do.
Was some weight lost on that mountain?
Yes, about 7 pounds.
How many?
7,
8.
I lost 4 just worrying in Houston. And I don't recommend climbing Mount Kilimanjaro as a weight loss program. There's got to be an easier way. Perhaps Shanna Ross Fitness.
I am so filled with joy and peace and ready to just live this gift called life to the fullest and I feel like this was the first tangible experience for me.
Are you glad you did it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. After all that,
yes.
I'm so glad you did it.
Yeah,
yes.
We are. We all are. We're all glad that nobody has regrets.
Do it again.
No. We got our t-shirts, we got our certificates, now we've done it.
And they all say over and over again they couldn't have taken on this challenge without the support of others. But again, it all started with Becky Pope. We'll talk with her next.
They are an inspiration, and I know it sounds a little corny about the whole, air beneath your wings or wind beneath your wings, but truly they are what keep me going.
Vice versa.
That's right. It's mutual.
The big highlight was just having accomplished my goal, which was getting to the top with Becky, being able to celebrate with her at the top. I mean, it started out revolving around Becky and ovarian cancer and making a statement during Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month, but not only was it for that, it was also to give hope to people who've maybe thought, gosh, you know what, I'm too sick to improve my physical fitness, or I'm too fat, or I've got too many problems in my life at the moment to do something special for myself. I think the message did get out that it's never too late.
Deb Sanders is an FBI agent who is facing mandatory retirement in December. A pretty tough lady, but she, like the others, was inspired to climb by Becky Pope. Becky has survived 2 bouts with ovarian cancer and got the news shortly before the climb. Her fight with cancer isn't over yet.
Well, I'm 5 months out of chemo.
Becky says she probably has self-proclaimed chemo brain because she knows climbing a mountain while weakened by illness may not sound like the brightest idea, but Mount Kilimanjaro is a symbol for her, and she wants it to be for others as well. It's a symbol of the mountains in our lives. It's a symbol of difficulties.
It's a symbol of things that sometimes feel like they're overshadowing us, that are bigger than we are.
There you go.
And that's what that's about, and that's why it's so important to climb and to say, I'm not giving in, I'm not going to defeat it, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to climb it and conquer it.
Come on, sister.
Finding out Becky's ovarian cancer has spread again is a tough diagnosis for everyone on her climbing team.
But that is all the more reason for us to continue on this trek. She's still going with us. She is still going to climb. It's not going to stop her. And again, it's just a great metaphor for life. You have to keep climbing. You have to keep moving forward, no matter what comes up.
For me, it's about keeping myself healthy and hopefully being an inspiration to other people who are fighting different kinds of battles of cancer. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. And it's about not letting the disease take over my life and to keep quality into my life for as long as I can.
So we understand that the only words we need to know in Swahili is pole pole. So apparently that's what the porters are going to keep telling us over and over, and it means slow, slow, slow.
Getting to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro is just the beginning for Becky. She has even bigger plans when she gets back to Houston.
For me, it's surgery, another round of chemo, and then hopefully training for Machu Picchu.
That's why everyone's so inspired by Becky. She's ready to train for even higher peaks in Peru.
And Becky, aka Wonder Woman, joins me now to talk about the climb. Welcome back to you.
Thank you.
It was so amazing to see you on this, Becky. You have the best sense of humor about everything you've been going through. Let's go back to what happened. You're in the middle of all this training, and then you find out your cancer has returned. How did you take that news?
I took it pretty hard initially because I was really shocked. I wasn't expecting it. I'd only been out of chemo about 6 months, and it was pretty devastating, but I had my little cry and threw my little fit and decided, I'm not going to let this thing defeat me, and we're going to keep on going and face the climb and start over again.
So you put off that surgery to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. You took your surgeon with you. She climbed with you.
Yes.
And then you came back and just a few days later had major surgery. Tell me about what happened.
They opened me up from below my belly button up to about my sternum, and had to retract over to the liver. They removed a spot off my liver that was cancerous and a lymph node near my aorta.
How were you taking this, and what were your thoughts as you're climbing that mountain? You know what you have to come back to. You have to have major surgery. Were those thoughts going through your mind? Did that keep you going on that mountain?
Really, I wasn't thinking too much about that. I was really thinking more about the reason I was climbing and to give hope and inspiration to other people. That's really what kept me going.
Well, I think your sense of humor helps you a whole lot, because I had to tell you, I've seen this picture that Becky sent to her friend, and it had a zipper that you had taped onto your belly button, pointing where the liver was and where the mountain was.
Right.
Where do you find the humor in all of this? You do a great job of it.
I don't know. It's just I kind of have always been a Gary Larson fan, and I kind of like the bizarre world in which he looks at life, and I try to have the same kind of sense of humor with the cancer.
What happens from here? What's your treatment plan?
I'll meet with Dr. Pastelnik on October 24th, and that'll be my first checkup after surgery. And I imagine at that time we'll devise a chemotherapy schedule and go from there.
Tell me a little bit about what your thoughts are for the future. Right now you're undergoing some major surgery, but you're already thinking about climbing in Peru.
Right.
So you have to set these goals for yourself to keep moving forward.
Yes, I do. And Machu Picchu has been one I have had on my bucket list actually for a while, so that's something I think I would like to do.
And what about your girlfriends? Because they say they would never in a million years climb Mount Kili again. Are you going to talk them into Peru with you?
Absolutely. I'm
really?
going to talk them into it, yes.
I don't know. I see some over there kind of shaking their head. They're not so sure about this.
I think the altitude is a little bit less at Machu Picchu, so I think maybe we can convince them, I hope.
Well, congratulations
Thank you.
on getting to Gilman's Point. That was a big summit for you to make, and it was so beautiful to see that picture of you holding that banner, knowing that you had made it that far.
Thanks. And can I give a shout out to the ladies at St. Luke's Hospital who really took a great care of me while I had my surgery 2 weeks ago.
Well, of course. We wish you the very continued best. Lots of prayers and thoughts heading your way in the coming. You stay in touch with us, and
I will.
I'm following you to Peru this time, though.
Okay, great.
All right, well, of course, a climb like this takes training, and lots of it. These women enlisted the help of certified personal trainer Shanna Ross for that. Oh, and by the way, she also made that climb, as you saw earlier. She joins me next.
I chose to climb, number one, because I put this group together, but number two, because as a fitness professional, I truly believe that it is never too late to take control of your life and to show others that they can do the same. And all of these women have done that. They have inspired me through working with them at my studio, and I wanted to undertake this adventure with them.
I would not have made it on my own. I have had such support through my friends, and I have been blessed with a dear friend who I invited, my friend Susie, who literally had my back. I fell back off a boulder one time, and she caught me, and I said I need help, and before I knew it, she had lifted me and put me on top of that rock, and she was there for me 100% of the time. And when I gave up my pack halfway through because it was too heavy, at the time didn't realize but knew later that I left my water in my pack and I left my food in my pack, and she shared all of her stuff with me the whole way up.
Certified personal trainer Shanna Ross has been documenting the climb up Mount Kilimanjaro every step of the way and is even writing a book about their journey. This project was all her idea. Here's why she chose to climb.
Let's head across, guys.
Shanna Ross is a fearless leader of the 7 hard-working women. Her idea to pull them together came through the form of Becky Pope.
She came to me with a bald head, her foot in a boot cast because she was having some problems with her foot, and said, I want you to help me climb climb Mount Kilimanjaro. And I was astounded that just coming out of chemo, she was ready to go and do this. When you go down, you want to use the poles quickly.
Shanna says 6 other women immediately came to mind when she heard that Becky wanted to climb Mount Kilimanjaro.
The common bond they all had is that they addressed their health and well-being to take back their lives. And that's where the idea came. How's everybody doing? And I invited all 6 of them. We discussed how difficult it would be
and that they also had to be very revealing about their issues, their health problems.
They all decided to do it, and now they're working harder than ever to bring their dream alive. Shanna owns Shanna Ross Fitness in the Heights and concentrates on helping baby boomers and menopausal women. This is a perfect fit since the average age of these climbers is 52.
I work mostly with people recovering from illness, injury, disease. So I've worked a lot with cancer survivors. It's such a beautiful shot of downtown.
Shanna is having to work through her own medical issues after a lot of sports injuries. She has herniated discs in her back and needs a knee replacement.
I'm in chronic pain pretty much all the time. But I also know that if I sit down and let it take over, then that's not going to work.
I go walking after midnight.
Shanna says she and the girls won't let simple things like age, medical issues, or life in general slow them down.
You would be amazed at some of the workouts these old gals are going through. You know, we don't think of ourselves as old at all. By chronological age, we're considered middle age. But the work they're putting in, the gusto with which they go after these workouts.
Ready? Break!
Is truly inspiring. It really shows that it's never, ever, ever too late.
Oh, no, it's not. And Shanna joins me now. And I love that was sort of the theme song. I've been walking, and you walked, and you walked for 6 days without much break, huh?
Yes.
Let's talk about what happened on that mountain. Okay, just to clarify, only two did not make it to the first, what you wanted, your goal, which was the first summit, right?
Right, that's right.
But then only two made it to the peak, which wasn't really that much further from the summit.
Right. It was still 2.5 hours from the original summit to get to the peak. And we were all suffering from altitude sickness to a certain extent. And the thought of 2.5 more hours was just too daunting for some of us, me included.
It was daunting for me just to watch all of you working out before getting ready, and I thought you were so ready, and you couldn't have been more prepared. But again, the altitude was just the thing you cannot get ready for, is it?
The altitude was the unknown, and I really like to think of it as the altitude was the metaphor for life. You never know what's around the corner. You can prepare as well as you can for most of it, but there's always going to be that surprise, and that's what the altitude was, and it affected all of us.
You have been busy documenting all of this every step of the way, including that altitude sickness, and you're going to write a book about it, and I think that this is going to help people realize how strong you can be if you set your goal and you can make it.
That's true, and it really is a mind over matter, and people who don't challenge themselves, people who are afraid of change and afraid of pushing past the comfort zone will never know how deep they can dig. We all found out on this how deep you can dig.
Speaking of digging really deep into your backs, they had a chiropractor with them. How convenient is that? Dr. Jackie Dovall helped you guys up that mountain. Well, let's listen into her for a second.
Right.
When I was training with Shanna Ross, she came to me and said, you know what, Jackie, you're a chiropractor, and you've had your Kilimanjaro to overcome, which is your diet and your obesity. I want you to help me inspire other people to get real and get up a mountain, conquer their own mountains and get fit. And so I guess I serve the double purpose. I'm their chiropractor for some of the ladies hiking up the mountain, and also I'm doing this to help other women and show them that, you know, it's usually just one step at a time.
And she was cracking away, huh? Really helping you guys out?
She was. I had a really hard time on day 2. I have herniated discs that affects my knee, and she gave me an adjustment. We cleared the dining tent out, and she adjusted me, and I was great, ready to go.
I'm sure so many people are wondering how you were communicating with people back home like Pat, and that's because you had AT&T as your sponsor. That helped.
AT&T came on at the last minute to sponsor us, and it was so helpful to be able to get text messages, Facebook messages while on the mountain, plus we could communicate back home with our fans, and that meant everything.
Well, we were happy that you were able to get some video for us, and also Donna, your photographer who's been going through all of this, has really helped out as well with that.
We were very lucky to have someone as talented as Donna to help us chronicle our journey from day 1. And we are in negotiations to put all of that together for a documentary, so stay tuned.
Yes.
It might happen.
A whole lot more to come.
Yes.
Well, you only had 30 minutes to rest at the bottom of that big mountain we see right there, and then they walk 6 more hours to another camp. So you guys are about as brave as it gets. Well, another woman on the team is HIV positive. What a special lady she is. It took Vanita Ray a long time to come to grips with that diagnosis, but the climb and the trip to an African orphanage helped put it all in perspective. She joins me next.
The biggest gift I got from it was a freedom. You know, the freedom from shame and guilt, and to inspire others. Because the relief of going public with HIV and the whole process of climbing a mountain as an expression of that freedom is just the greatest gift. To think that something that started out as such dark and bleak would lead to the highest mountain in Africa and a chance to yell to others is just the freedom that I never imagined I'd have.
It was the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. Aside from putting my dog down, it was the most difficult thing I've ever done. When they said this is the toughest thing you'll ever do in your life, they were right. And I didn't realize what that was until I was there and did it.
Vanita Ray is one of the other inspirational climbers. Vanita was diagnosed with HIV 8 years ago. The first 4 years, she lived in a deep, dark depression, walked away from a successful career, and came close to giving up on life. She moved to Houston to be near supportive family and friends. The past 4 years, she has been putting the pieces of her life back together. She was ready to take on that mountain.
It takes a lot of strength to be able to step out and identify yourself as being positive, because then you give a face and people can recognize HIV as a family member or a friend, and then it adds some humanity to it.
I've climbed a big mountain to get to this point. The Kilimanjaro is just a physical idea of the struggle that I've went through to get here, me and my family. So it's a big deal to me.
Vanita joins us now, and it is a big deal. You've come so far, and can you believe that you were up on that mountain? I see pictures of it, and I can't fathom it.
No, I can't believe it.
Let's talk about your journey, because we haven't gotten to hear your take of it yet. Pretty difficult thing, wasn't it?
When they said it was going to be the biggest challenge you've ever done, they were right. Yes, it was.
What was it like? What was your struggle on that mountain?
The altitude sickness got me pretty quick. Yeah, by the end of the first day, and especially the second day, and altitude sickness, and then for some reason or some kind of way, I end up injuring my right side, and I just so I was in pain from probably the second day on, but I didn't want to quit.
You told me earlier that you didn't quite reach your personal goal. You got really close. But in the end, it wasn't about making that summit on the mountain. It was about making the summit in your life, and you did it.
Yes. I'm pretty proud. I didn't reach the summit, but I reached my summit. And I think that's kind of pretty important. It translates to life to me that we all have our summit. It may not be your summit, it may not be the summit, but it's our summit. And I'm pretty proud to, I know what I went through to get to that point, and I'm pretty proud of 16,000 feet.
Well, I think you made a big difference while you were in Africa, and you should be so proud of that 16,000 feet. But you also got to go to an orphanage and talk to this just beautiful boy named Tyson, who also suffers from HIV and that diagnosis and what that means. And you were really able to help him out, weren't you?
I don't know if I did, but I hope so. I wanted him to know that he can grow up to be big. And when someone translated in Swahili that I was also positive, and his eyes got big and he looked up at me, and I hope he did.
And we see you there talking to him. What was it like to be able to try to inspire such a precious young man?
Oh my God, that's the point of this all. You know, the freedom I've gotten from being able to now be open about my diagnosis and not have to, you know, feel the cloak of secrecy and shame, and to know that that's the kind of impact that it can have is really worth it all.
Well, you're a lawyer. You have a big job. And are you able to focus more on that job now versus this quote-unquote diagnosis?
You know, that right, since the climb, the diagnosis has still been a big point, but yes, it's just affected every area of my life. You know, I feel like I'm ready just to kind of bust forward and do some things, and yeah, I think so.
And you're getting the message out that HIV can be prevented with careful practice. And that's an important message to share, because I think our society has gotten a little lax these days, and that we just don't hear about it quite as much anymore because there's so many medications to help take care of it. And so you want to remind people it's very prevalent in the Houston community.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, I do believe we've gotten kind of lax because of the medications, but it is still a chronic illness, and it is entirely preventable. And if you don't have to carry this around with you, you know, I really do want the message of prevention out there, but also the message of hope that if you are dealing and living with HIV, that you don't have to die from it. You know?
Well, Vanita, you are one of the bravest women I have ever met. It has been such an honor getting to know you through this journey.
Thank you.
And I thank you for being here today and for talking to us so openly and honestly. I wish you continued success, and I know you'll get it.
Thanks.
Well, the ladies were not only climbing for each other, but also for all the others battling illness who aren't physically able to attempt such a challenge. That story's next.
You know, I didn't make it to the top. You know, I only made it to Kibo Camp, which is over 15,000 feet. And the reason I couldn't summit is because my hands, I wasn't expecting my hands to freeze like they did. And that's part of my rheumatoid arthritis, I found out later. It was like as if my end of my fingers were being slammed to the car door, and I couldn't get them warmed up enough. And I knew that if I tried to summit like that, I would have lost my fingers.
I am tickled to death that I was able to have this experience virtually. I was considering it, and I had a physician who said, "Are you out of your tiny mind?" And I said, "No, really, I think I can." And I think that was just a wonderful fantasy. But early on, my contribution was going to be the quilt for the Kilimanjaro climbers. I actually bought some of the fabric at a big quilt show in Paducah from a lady from Tanzania. And so I designed it. My sister helped me put it together. It was one of my very first quilts. I'm very new at this. And then when I realized I wasn't going, I thought they can't take a 5 foot by 5 foot quilt with them, so I'll make everyone little quilts. And I learned a whole lot about quilting in just a few days, but all 16 of the women had a little mini quilt.
And as you just saw in that video, Pat presented me with one of her quilts, and I will cherish it forever. You know, for the women who may not have physically made it up that mountain like her, you know that she, along with many other people battling disease, were there, and here's a look at that.
We've just finished our climb meeting, and we're now passing out photos of people who have died from cancer, those who are living with it.
Brenda Lewis, we dedicate this to you. She's one of my best friends that I met early in recovery. We lost her to breast cancer about 3 years ago.
Megan, this is Lisa Reed. She lost her battle to breast cancer.
Sorry.
Pam, here's Donna's second, her mom and dad.
Attached to the back of my day pack, Pat Renty, Michelle Frank, Vanessa Hartman, Barbara Garvin, Jennifer Hartman, Brian Reuter, and finally I take my dad in my heart. Each of the climbers have this many, if not more, photos that we'll be taking to the top.
We walk to honor those that still live with this disease of cancer and HIV and other maladies, and we also remember those who have lost their lives to cancer and other maladies.
Several of these patients are mine. I'm taking care of, and it just speaks to their strength and their courage and their faith of what they've been through and gone through. And as well as Becky, this whole climb is really dedicated to them. This is for Diane Strauss, who's currently receiving chemotherapy and is an amazing person. And Barbara Woolhouse, who's had ovarian cancer and uterine cancer, who's made it through on the other side and is just an incredible person.
This is Judy Lackey. She's now surviving uterine cancer.
And this is Carol Grogan, who is surviving ovarian cancer.
All right, we're on day 3 on our climb to Mount Kilimanjaro. And we
want to dedicate these next miles to Carrie Kalmbach, who's stage 4 lung cancer.
Barbara Lynn Garvin, and she's currently going through treatment for ovarian cancer at MD Anderson.
And this is why we're here. Ann Toft, a very good dear friend and an adopted grandmother, Mario, passed away to ovarian cancer. And Terry Jacobs, an avid dog lover, golden retrievers, and she too passed away to ovarian cancer. Let's beat this thing. We need to beat this ovarian cancer.
We're also dedicating this next mile to Barbara Ann Kazin, who recently lost her battle with brain cancer. She was a brave and wonderful woman, and we honor her with this climb.
Because we can walk, we will walk, and because we can climb, we will climb.
What do we do, guys? We choose to climb.
Those who chose to climb and made it to the top take the rest of us there through their photographs next. As I said at the start of the show, Mount Kilimanjaro is the tallest freestanding mountain in the world and the highest peak in Africa. So you can imagine the view's pretty good up there.
I went to the very top, 19,441 feet.
And you know that exact number.
That's right.
With reason, because you climbed every step to get there.
Yes, ma'am.
What did it feel like when you reached the top?
When I reached the top, you know, we were all talking about how we would embrace each other and give the big woohoo, and it was more like, whoa, no oxygen. When I made it to the top, it was quiet. It was just, okay, where are the firecrackers? But there's no oxygen, so there's not going to be fire.
These visions that we had, that we would get to the summit as a group of 17 and we would be hugging and cheering and celebrating, the mountain had a completely different plan for us. And the groups, there was, I think the largest group was 5. We had another group of 4. And then a lot of 2s and 1s, like it was Shanna and myself, it was Becky and Deb, Jackie was by herself. So it was very, very different than what we had expected.
I was the first one to make it, but I had 3 other girls with me that were right behind me. And so we really summited together. And it was, as grateful as I was, it was bittersweet because not everyone was there. And that was my dream.
But it was beautiful. I mean, the sight was, it was quiet, it was beautiful, the skies were blue, and it was, you see the glaciers.
Oh, what a sight. Coming up next, the ladies offer some final thoughts about that climb. Joining me once again to offer some final thoughts on their climb up Mount Kilimanjaro, Becky Pope, Shanna Ross, and Vanita Ray. And we have this incredible quilt that Pat made you, and now you are going to be taking this to you through chemotherapy, wrapping it around your body for some incredible energy, right?
Absolutely. I'll have my Kili Dadas, which means my sisters of Kilimanjaro, wrapped around me.
Well, and it has everyone's name monogrammed in it. Everyone has signed it. There's even messages on the back here from everybody. I just think that it's really an incredible thing. So we are so glad that you brought it in to share with us this morning. Final thoughts for people who have any kind of goal that they want to meet, Shanna. I mean, it might not be climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, but if it's a huge goal that they have, how do you suggest they get there?
You know, I have 5 things I always tell my clients that they need to do. They need to decide to do it. That's the most important thing. Then they need to get help, whether it's a buddy, a trainer, a therapist. Then they need to change the way they eat, start nourishing their bodies. They need to move every day, and then they need to wake up every morning and decide to live more healthy that day. If they do those things, they're well on their way.
We have 2 perfect examples here. Becky was just in surgery on the operating table 2 weeks ago. Look at her today.
That's
She's
right.
going strong. Vanita has overcome so much through diet, exercise, and a positive attitude. You ladies are living proof that it works.
Absolutely. I can't imagine going through as much as I have without being physically fit.
And it helps us get through almost anything in life, right? And that's even your point of view, is that you can do anything because exercise takes your mind off of any negative thoughts when you're out there working it.
When I was at my lowest and feeling suicidal, I didn't realize the moment I began to exercise again, I was on my way to changing my life, because you can't think of dying when you're exercising. It's just opposites, and so. Yeah.
That's right. And Shanna's someone who teaches people how to live healthy lives. That has to make you feel good to know that it gets your mind off of it and onto more powerful thoughts.
I always tell everybody I absolutely love what I do, and this is why.
With reason. Well, they brought me back this rock. Look, I have a Mount Kilimanjaro rock. The very first and only rock I will probably have from Mount Kili. Can you see it right there? And so this was some of that awful stuff you guys were sliding down, right?
Yes, it was horrible. Scree. I never want to hear that word again as long as I live.
I bet you don't. Well, if you guys do decide to climb another mountain, we want to make sure that we are able to follow you again, because it's been an incredible journey. And there you see Mount Kilimanjaro, Scree.
Right there.
Mama Kili.
Oh, no doubt. Last thoughts, ladies?
I just want to thank all the supporters and for the prayers and the love and the encouragement we got from the community and all of our sponsors, because without that, we wouldn't have made the journey.
Shanna?
That's right. Our sponsors were amazing. All of our fans, our family, you guys getting the word out, and my people. They're the most amazing people in the world.
All right, we're out of time. Thank you so much for being here
Thank you.
today. Bless each every one of you. Keep up the good work. And now, I think we'll all be ready to go climb our own mountain. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday morning.